Hey good people, another video. Today's video will be uncomfortable and a little bit hard whether you relate to it or not. I will be going over the topic of suicide. I relate to this topic a lot because I have known and I do know people that have either attempted suicide or wanted to attempt suicide. This topic hits close to home for me. Like I said, today's video will be uncomfortable, but it's needed just like every other topic. I want to talk to you guys about the warning signs of suicide amongst the youth, the experience that I had being friends with someone that attempted suicide, and steps that we can take to prevent it. First, let's look at some stats. Suicide is the second leading cause of death amongst people ages 10 to 34. It is the third leading cause of death on college campuses. In 2020, 1.4 million people in the U.S. have attempted suicide, while 48,344 people have died by suicide. Lastly, men died by suicide 3.6 times more often than women, while women were 1.4 times more likely to attempt suicide. Now that we have gotten that out the way, let's talk about some of the main signs to look out for when your friends or someone in your family may be suicidal. This may be very helpful to you because it's important to know the signs. You could literally be saving someone's life. Number one, they're constantly talking about being a burden to others or just talking about death. Even though you may try to constantly convince them that they're not a burden, this isn't a thought that easily goes away. They feel like the world is better off without them. Though they might not actually act on attempting suicide, this is still worth taking seriously because they could be still thinking about it. Whether they're talking about being a burden to others or directly saying, I want to die. I don't even want to be here. Some may even talk about how they'll attempt to kill themselves. Pay attention to the potential last call for help. Number two, a very unusual change in their behavior. A person that is suicidal may not care about their appearance anymore and they're unusually calm. This could mean that they have possibly made the decision that they're going to attempt suicide. The calmness comes with the thought that their problems will finally cease to exist and there will be no more suffering. If they haven't already started distancing themselves from everyone, they will begin to distance themselves. Though it may not be a direct sign of someone feeling suicidal, you still want to be mindful of the signs of depression because it can lead to suicide. Another unusual thing that a suicidal person might do is make sudden visits to everyone that they care about to make amends. What could be seen as a reconnection between good friends or good family members is actually a goodbye. People that aren't considering suicide will do this as well, but this is something you should keep in mind, especially when it comes to people that have been dealing with mental health disorders or just people that have experienced so many traumatic events in their life. Also, some people give away their possessions when they have decided to make a suicide attempt. Number three, that person is suddenly buying firearms or unnecessary pills. The most common way of suicide is by firearms. Over half of suicides are by firearms. As far as attempts, 85 to 90% with firearms are successful. People that want to act on a suicide attempt will plan it out accordingly, and you need to be watchful if they have access to anything that they can use to take their life. Some other warning signs are the increase of drug use or alcohol. They're more agitated, anxious, or participate in their really risky activities, extreme mood swings, and sleep problems. One thing that a lot of us tend to do is ignore the very signs that someone is considering suicide. Now, let's talk about suicide amongst the youth. Teen suicide is a huge problem that is overlooked by too many people. Schools don't even know how to handle the topic of suicide. Many schools only bring up the topic of suicide once a year, and there are some that don't even bring it up. Teenage years are stressful because it comes with a lot of change. You're growing up and you're on this journey to becoming successful. There are so many challenges that some teens face, such as dealing with their parents' divorce, dealing with the death of a loved one, academics, probably trying to fit in with everyone. If you're not, then you look like the oddball, which is completely fine because you don't need to be trying to be like everyone else. You're amazing the way you are. We begin to experience heartbreaks, love, some are dealing with being bullied, and some are even trying to come to terms with their own sexuality. Oh yeah, let's get something straight before I continue. It is not okay to bully anyone, whether it's because of their weight, their sexual preference, or whatever. Suicide has been known to have a link to bullying, so don't be that person that causes someone else's suicide. That is something that will keep you up for the rest of your life. Anyways, we're figuring out our place in life and we have all these worries about being a failure, and it takes a toll on young people. It definitely takes a toll on young people when they feel like a failure and nothing's ever going to go good in their life. Coming of age era in your life is not easy. at all. This is actually where mental health issues are more likely to start, which could lead to suicide. Suicide is the last and worst result of mental health issues. You are taking your life as a way of finally being free of everything. You're finally free of not feeling like a burden. You're free of this nonstop pain that you felt from others. Suicide is the last option that we need to make sure doesn't happen. It's not the easiest trying to keep someone from attempting suicide, but it's worth it because I would rather comfort that person as much as I can and try my best to de-escalate these thoughts than being at their funeral. Unfortunately, all suicides are not preventable because there are some people that are too good at hiding their emotions and you wouldn't even have a clue that they're suicidal. They simply don't want you to know about how they're feeling, whether they're concerned about being judged, they don't want to worry no one, or they're simply not sure of how to express how they feel. This shows how mental health issues do not have a look. I guess now would be a good time to tell my experience of being a friend of someone who has attempted suicide and the effect it has had on me to this day. It was back in like 11th grade. This girl was once my best friend. I won't disclose her name or anything, but she suddenly stopped coming to school for about almost a month. Her phone was disconnected and I was just so confused because nothing seemed to be wrong with her the last time I saw her. Or ever. So about 2 weeks before she finally came back, her boyfriend told all of us, her friends, that she attempted suicide and that she was in a coma. She was getting better when he told us, but it broke me down because I felt I almost lost her. I could have lost her. Did she not feel comfortable talking about it? Did I make it hard for her to open up to me? Did I miss a sign? What did I do wrong? Those were the questions that were in my head when I found out because what if I was to lose her? I don't know how I would have been able to cope with that, and I completely understand that it's not 100% preventable, but at the end of the day, I still felt like I should have done something to prevent it. Not being able to help is not a good feeling at all, and it still affects me even though her attempt wasn't successful. Ever since then, I have always had a nervous reaction to when a friend of mine began to talk about how they have wanted to attempt suicide, or they talk about how the world would be much better without them, because I don't want nothing like that to ever happen again. It's really hard to even reminisce about that. Like, it's really, really extremely hard. Though all suicides are not preventable, you need to know how to prevent suicide because some are preventable. Here are some things we need to do. Number 1, don't make a suicidal person seem like they're selfish. Yes, suicide affects everyone that cares about them. It hurts a lot, and it's definitely a struggle trying to figure out why the heck they would ever think of doing something like that and leave us in pain. Why didn't you think about how that could affect me? Understand that they do think about this, but they feel like a burden to every single person that cares about them. Suicide is an unfortunate but not selfish act that is brought by this constant pain in a person's life that doesn't seem to be going away, and it won't until that person dies. The last thing you want to do is judge someone based on how they're feeling. They're supposed to be able to talk to you about that. You won't be able to prevent anything because they don't want your 2 cents. Number 2, ask about if they're considering it. It's not putting the idea in their head. If anything, they have become completely aware and they might be in awe to know that you're actually really concerned about them, especially if they already feel like nobody cares about them. This can actually make it a lot easier for that person to open up about how they're feeling, and that nice long conversation that you guys had could de-escalate those suicidal feelings. Like I said, the topic is very frightening and uncomfortable, but it's needed. Number 3, don't leave a suicidal person alone. If you know that someone is at a high risk of suicide, then remove their access of guns, knives, or pills, or any weapons that could be used until their crisis is over. Even remove access to a car. Don't let that person be alone, because when you're alone, all of your thoughts are just heavy and you have absolutely nothing to do to distract yourself from them. You need to stay watchful of that person. Number 4, stay in contact. Though their feelings may have disappeared, it's best to stick by their side while they're recovering. Establish that they can always come to you if they need to talk, and just constantly spend time with them. Number 5, tell others. It could be very hard to talk someone out of suicide, so tell someone else that they know about the crisis so that they can reach out immediately. Number 6, take every threat, whether it's jokes, social media posts, etc., seriously. Make no mistake about it. Everyone doesn't necessarily say that they're considering it, but don't overlook those that are making it known that suicide is something that they're strongly considering. Before I wrap up this video, I just want to send a small message to those that may be thinking about suicide. You are most definitely loved, even though it probably don't feel like it right now. You're allowed to have bad days. It's okay to not be okay sometimes. You don't have to always walk around being upbeat and putting a smile on your face when you're definitely not feeling this thing called life. Things get really rough, but there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. It definitely don't look like it right now for you, but there is, and suicide is not the light that I'm talking about. You are special. You are beautiful. You're strong, though you may not feel like you are. But every day that you're still getting up out of that bed and making it through another day makes you even stronger. Just for that. It's painful, but you made it. You feel like you're just surviving instead of living. I know I'm incapable of taking the pain away, but I just want you to feel a little bit better. I believe that you have it in you to get out of the darkness that you're currently in, though your demons are telling you something else. They're telling you that you're a burden. The world is better off without your existence. You are weak. You are stupid. You are not worth anything. No one cares about you. You'll never be happy. Just die. They're really good at convincing you of that too. I know you have the strengths because those demons obviously haven't won if you're hearing my voice right now. You surely never asked to be here, but you are, and it's definitely for a reason. You have a purpose, and it's not to struggle all your life. I may not be in your shoes, but I know for a fact that you got this. You are like a bright light that just lights up everything you touch. You light up every room you're in. You might mess around and blind somebody with your brightness. Let that light shine in the darkness. I wish I could hug you right now, but I know you, because I know you need it, but I can give you a virtual hug. I can also tell you that I'm proud of you. I need you here, and I love you even though I don't even know you. Please just stay and fight some more. I believe in you, and best believe I'm rooting for you wherever you may be. Usually I end my video talking about what the next video will be about, but I think I'm just gonna end it right here. Be kind, stay safe, stay strong, love. I wish you peace.